compromise in Donald's backyard. This is the logo for Walt's railroad, Carrollwood Pacific, Fairweather Route. You know, he even had a letterhead for his miniature railroad. There it is, Walt Disney, president, general manager, and what have you. Now that's a clue of all the things you can learn by doing model train layout. You learn engineering and design and science and architecture, all by building model train layout. And guess what? It's not on a computer that can crash. You have a tangible, something you can show for your efforts. I like to say that having a model train, you don't own it, you maintain it. You pass it on to future generations, down through the family. Well, we were the backyard crew for Walt. That's my dad on the engine. My older brother Roger and I were with Walt in the backyard running his train. You gotta have a crew if you have a railroad. Well, he decides he wants a bigger layout. This is 16 acres next to the studio in Burbank. And he said we could put in a boat ride, lay more track, have some attractions, open it up free to the public on weekends. Well, he took that plan to the city of Burbank, and the wisdom of the city council said, Mr. Disney, we will never give you zoning for an amusement park in our town. With that, they lost the gift. Well, he went and bought some cheap orange groves down in Anaheim, and you know the rest of that story. Well, he had this idea in his head, but nobody had ever seen a Disneyland. So he got Herbie Ryman over to the studio one weekend, explained to him what Disneyland was going to be, and Herbie created this drawing. The first visual of Disneyland. Walt said, I wanted to be unlike anything in the world, with a steam train running around it. So Roy took that drawing to New York, made a deal with ABC television to put Walt on TV on Sunday nights. Some of us are old enough to remember. There was black and white in your living room, that big box with a little bitty screen. Kids today have no idea what I'm talking about. You know, they grow up with high definition color. Now when I was growing up, it was black and white. At that time, Disneyland was under construction. I had a job at the studio. My job as a 12-year-old was to test drive the gas-powered cars for Autopia. They needed a kid to test drive them around the studio lot until they would break, and then they would give a new one. I'd drive that till it broke, and they figured out if the Broggie kid can't break them, then the public won't be able to break them when Disneyland opened. That was a very important job. I told that story at a Disneyana convention, and Bob Gurr, who's now a Disney legend, the designer, was there, and he said, wait a minute, you tell that story that you were my test driver, I'm going to set the record straight. In fact, you were my test dummy. I think driver has a much better sound to it, don't you? Well, Walt decides he's going to get his park open. It's now July 17th, 1955, and how did he arrive at the opening of his park? Aboard his train.
Right now, we got to get back here. The E.P. Ripley is rolling around the Santa Fe Disneyland railroad tracks with Walt Disney at the controls. And in the cab with it, you may be surprised to know, is the governor of the state of California and the president of Santa Fe, Mr. Gurley himself. And in the cars behind the 5/8-size train, you'll see the little boys and girls dressed in the foreign costumes of their countries because they are the children of the foreign consuls located here in Los Angeles. Now, the track is 1.5 miles around. The train runs about every 10 or 12 minutes. In fact, there are two trains. There's a passenger train and there's a freight train. And each one takes several hundred passengers. It takes about 6 minutes to go around the track, which is built on a ramp that completely encircles Disneyland and cuts it out from the outside world. So once you get inside Disneyland, all you see are the various kingdoms. Now, if you look on down the track, you see Mickey Mouse there at the controls. And that's an exact duplicate of the engines that ran over 50 years ago. You can see the conductor there with his brass buttons glistening in the sun, the arms of the children. Hello, Walt. Hello, Governor. Hi. How did the run go?
Oh, fine. The governor had her around through Frontierland, and then Fred Gurney there, he took her around. I picked her up and brought her in. Hi, boy.
Hello, Governor.
Glad to see you, Art.
Governor Knight of California, ladies and gentlemen, and Walt Disney, of course, and Mr. Gurley, the president of the Santa Fe.
And of the Santa Fe Disneyland, if you please.
That's right. Now,
Vice President of Santa Fe Disneyland.
you gentlemen have lots to do down in the square, so we'll see you at the dedication.
All right. Thank you, Art.
All right, there they go. And here come a lot. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Bunny. Johnny Green, Ron Button, and all the passengers. And got to get down and start getting ready to cover the parade, which is going to go down Main Street in a couple of seconds. And after a few words from your sponsor, Ronnie Reagan will take it away for the dedication ceremonies to Disneyland.
Well, there's a name that has a familiar ring to it, doesn't it? Ronnie Reagan. I think he was a B actor, wasn't he? I think he did all right. Besides opening Disneyland with Walt, I think he went on to do some pretty good things. You know, it's interesting what Walt said about Disneyland. It will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there's imagination left in the world, and that's a message to everyone. There's still room for new ideas and new concepts. It'll never be finished. But you know, the imagination of Walt, you could not contain within the 45 acres of Disneyland. He had a bigger idea. He wanted to do a whole city of tomorrow, a future laboratory. So he and Roy secretly started buying land in Central Florida, a whole lot of land. All right, maybe that's a little exaggerated, but the fact of the matter is they ended up buying 48 square miles, 32,000 acres of land, enough for generations of ideas. Well, unfortunately, Walt had a bad habit. He smoked 3 packs of unfiltered cigarettes a day. He got lung cancer. It's now December 14th, 1966. He's in the hospital across from the studio. He sends for Roy. Roy comes into his room. He said, "What's up, Walt?" He says, "You know, I'm not going to make it. You have to promise me you're not going to retire. You have to build Disney World in Florida. Promise me you'll stay." That night, Roy made a promise to his younger brother. The next morning at 9:25, Walt's heart stopped due to the cancer. After a private funeral, Roy brought together the leaders of the company and says, "We're going to go ahead with that project in Florida, but I want to change the name. It will not be Disney World, it's Walt Disney World." That was the brother. Well, my dad was still in charge of Imagineering. They needed railroads for the park in Florida. He found out in Mexico they were going to scrap these beautiful Baldwins built in Philadelphia. So he went down there and bought 4 of them, $8,000 a piece, had them hauled to the Tampa shipyards where they're torn down to bare